Of all the In Focus videos I've done here on AFTV, this has definitely been the one I've been most surprised to have to record. I did my prepping, I did my planning, I went into it thinking, Kai Havertz, I was not expecting this. But I just want to stress that this is not going to be a video where we go through every reason why we don't want Kai Havertz at Arsenal, because we've done already, there's been plenty of content out on this channel and we know how Arsenal fans are feeling. There is genuine skepticism about this transfer and I get it. I'm on board with a lot of that. But Arsenal want him, they're willing to pay a lot of money for him, and this video is about understanding why. So welcome back to another In Focus here on AFTV, and if at the end of the video you enjoy this video, hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel as well. So let's get into Kai Havertz. Is he a Robin van Persie regen, as some people have said? Some people compared him stylistically. Is he an Odegaard backup? Is he the answer to Granit Xhaka, the box-to-box? He scored a few headers and he used to play in midfield. Maybe Arteta can transform in the way he transformed Xhaka into a more defensive player, to someone getting up the pitch. Just do it the other way around. I'm not sure. I think I went into this video planning, prepping, thinking I'd feel a certain way, and then when looking at all the numbers and looking at some of the data I'm going to present here, I've started feeling very differently, and that's what I want to go through in this video. And as always, we're going to start with the player profile just to get a little familiar with Kai Havertz. 24 years of age. He's been at Chelsea 3 years, of course. At the age of 21, moved in the summer of 2020. He is German. He's played many games for the German national team. Scored a great goal against England for Germany, actually. He's 6'3", and we're going to touch on that at the very end of this video. I'll explain why later. And he's a left-footed player. So, okay, that's a little profile. I didn't really touch on his position. Like, what is he? Is he a striker? Is he a... And I think this raises massive questions. I'm going to show you why. Let's go straight to the tactical pad. Now, what I've got here is a Chelsea 3-4-3, and the reason that you can't even see Havertz even named on it is because he literally played multiple positions. He's played as a striker for them, he's played off on the right, off on the left, and all the way back at Leverkusen, probably more in a midfield three, to be fair. You're looking at something more like, you know, a back four, something more like this. He's even played in one of the central midfield areas. Not as many, but he's sort of played there. His productivity from these areas is very interesting. We're going to touch on that in a sec, but the fact that he's played in so many different areas, if Chelsea has led the line and never really looked too comfortable there, it has made me think, you know, when we're signing this player, you see what Dan Potts and Curtis were saying. To be fair, on talking transfers, I said the same, as did Robbie. What is he? Who is he? What are we signing? Okay, whether you question what he's done in a Chelsea shirt is one thing, but I think a lot of the doubt is around what are we even bringing to the club. So, doing some digging, and I found this good quote from Thomas Tuchel that was doing the rounds. This is more about the profile and style of player he is. He was doing the rounds on Twitter. This was talking around the time Tuchel was the manager of Chelsea, and this quote I liked. He said, "I see a kind of Dennis Bergkamp, Robin van Persie, Berbatov kind of player. He can play in the half position." By half position he means almost what I was showing in that sort of the right or the left of a front three, in those kind of pockets number 10s pick up. You know, Odegaard, Xhaka have been playing in those areas this season. He then says he can play in the half position because he makes good runs, he feels free from the 9 and creates overloads to one side, and he arrives in the centre. He's a player that I think, in that I'm taking, movement's intelligent, movement's good. He can pick up good spaces, create overloads, as Tuchel said. But again, a little bit of doubt, I think, around quite what he is. Is he a 9 then? So is he a number 10? Is he maybe perfectly, I don't know, perfectly poised to play in, you know, Guardiola's 3-2-4-1 formation as one of the 2 floating 10s? I don't know. It was an interesting quote. And then I've got here the positions Havertz has played for Chelsea. He's played as a striker 69 times. He's played as a number 10 54 times. He's played as a winger only 10 times. And he's not played as a central midfielder once for Chelsea. In that time at Chelsea, in the 139 appearances, that's 32 goals, 15 assists, and he's won 3 trophies, including that big Champions League final goal he scored for Chelsea against Man City, winning them the Champions League. And basically, you know, confirming himself as a huge part of Chelsea's history. And we have a knack for doing that, don't we? Signing players that are a big part of Chelsea's history and have done big things there. We just need them to do big things here. I think that's also another layer to the transfer that people just are struggling to get past. It's another former Chelsea player. And yeah, I get it. Let's have a look at his Leverkusen numbers though, because one thing that people have been saying is, okay, he went to Chelsea for 3 years, he's not really done it. Cool, Champions League final goal. He scored some great goals, by the way. The Leicester chip, a couple months ago, the goal against Newcastle last season. He has had some really, really, I was going to say great moments, the Champions League finals, but really good moments where you can certainly see his quality come through. But he struggled there. So some people are saying, well, maybe you chalk off those 3 years, pretend they didn't happen, and you think of the Havertz at Leverkusen that everyone wanted, that we would have been so excited to get. And can Arteta unlock the potential that was in him there? Well, let's have a look at some of those numbers. 150 appearances at Leverkusen, 46 goals, 31 assists. Didn't win a trophy, but okay, that's fine. Now, this is interesting. This is the positions he played and the amount of times he played in those positions for Leverkusen. Only 9 times did he actually lead the line as a striker. On 84 occasions, he played as a number 10, or probably more of a shadow striker. He played 35 times on the wing, predominantly the right wing, like a heavy amount of that was on the right wing, and 18 times in central midfield. 18 times is quite a lot, to be fair. This isn't just 3 or 4 times to drop in when they're chasing a goal or something. He's actually been deployed in that area quite a few times, though I will say never once in his final season at Leverkusen did he play as a central midfielder. And then I stumbled across this stat. Shout out to Nick, who was in the office today and told me this stat. I went looking for it, and here it was. That in the 1920 season, so that was his final season at Leverkusen, Havertz clocked the fastest speed of any midfielder in the Bundesliga, and this is according to ESPN. So okay, he's probably got more pace than we've given him credit for, or that we've seen in a Chelsea shirt. And you've got some numbers there that suggest he's far more productive, or at least at Leverkusen was used far more in deeper areas, or let's say central midfield and wide areas, in maybe more creative areas, than he was up front, where he would be basically on the end of things, and he'd be the end to the final product, the finisher, rather than the creator. So I wanted to look at his productivity, but specifically from the right-hand side, because this is where my brain started to, and in fact, let's take it back to the tactical pad for a second, because we were looking at it here. And let's have a little look at the Arsenal team. This is the Arsenal 4-3-3. The reason I want to touch his productivity from the right-hand side is I just wonder whether he could give us something there. Let's just take Saka out of the 11. Saka played an unbelievable amount of football last year. I think he's played every single game for Arsenal, not every single minute, but he started every single Premier League game for Arsenal for 2 years in a row, something like that. It's a phenomenal amount, and he needs some of that load taken off him. So could Kai Havertz start on the right wing for Arsenal? I know that sounds crazy. I want to put a little bit more of a pitch for it in a bit. But he could be out there. He could play in the middle with Saka, or maybe Jesus drifts wide. I think that's where a lot of people are expecting him. And then the other idea was that he could play as one of the central midfielders, because let's get Saka back in this team. Here he is. Move Jesus into the middle. Put Saka there. Could he play as that box-to-box, making the underlaps, getting on the edge of the box, scoring headers like Xhaka did in that final game against Wolves, that kind of thing. I would be surprised. I don't think he's shown any real defensive resilience and kind of natural defensive instincts to suggest that he could maybe sort of drop into that midfield 3. So I do think that there's more chance he plays in the front 3. So let's move away from the tactical pad and just go through a few numbers, explain a little bit why. Here's some headline stats. 29 goal contributions have come in 52 games as a right winger for Bayer Leverkusen. In his final season for Leverkusen, he got 11 goal contributions in 12 games. That's 6 goals, 5 assists. So very, very productive from wider areas. And then if you're looking and comparing that to his goal contribution per game in every single position that he's played for Leverkusen, it's 0.4 goal contributions per game as a striker, 0.42 as a number 10, but then a lot better, 0.54 as a winger, and then it drops to 0.16 as a central midfielder. I just have this feeling, I didn't think this going into my prep for this video, but I just have this feeling that Arteta will look at Havertz and says, yes, someone who, when we're chasing a goal, you can maybe drop in central midfield. Yes, when Jesus needs a rest or needs alternating, can lead the line. And actually, I was chatting to Curtis, he made a really good point, and he was, look, a lot of us have real doubts about this Havertz deal, but he raised the point that while Eddie is a poacher and works hard, does he want real technical quality up top like he gets from Jesus, and maybe Havertz provides that, even if he isn't an out-and-out number 9 who's going to just score 25 goals a season. But that was interesting. I just think he sees him as someone who can play across multiple positions, but in the same way that a Bernardo Silva plays out on the right for Man City. He's not a penetrative winger who blitzes in behind. He's not a ball carrier. He's not a dribbler. He doesn't scare the life out of defenders. He can be very, very creative from wide areas in the same way Smith Rowe, not really this season, but the season before, was used on the left under Mikel Arteta. I wonder whether he sees Kai Havertz in that kind of role, but also knows he can play multiple different positions. And ultimately, if Ødegaard can't play for whatever reason and Fabio Vieira's not up to it, you know you can play Havertz behind the striker. You know you can get him to lead the line and cover multiple positions. And so this whole fear about, well, what is he really? Arteta loves versatility, and I think he might use that as a strength and a reason why a Havertz would have a big part to play in this squad. And of course there's questions for everything I've just said and for all this trying to show you and convince you that there's a player. And some of those numbers are really impressive me. I touched on it, his numbers at Leverkusen. Where were they? Oh, I haven't got them written down here. But I mean, some of his numbers were really impressive in terms of his goals and assists in his time at Leverkusen. There are questions. Okay, but he came to the Premier League and it didn't work. So he did it in the Bundesliga. So he did it for Leverkusen. It didn't work at Chelsea and he's had 3 years to do that. Why is that the case? I honestly think that Chelsea didn't know what they were getting when they signed him. And the reality is I don't fully know what we're getting if we sign him. But I think Arteta will make a better fist of it than Chelsea did. Yes, he scored in the Champions League final, fine. That might have probably repaid the 72 million they paid for him. But having played him as a number 9, why? Why as a number 9 so often when they kind of lacked a bit of creativity in midfield anyway? I honestly think it's because he's 6'3". I think they thought, well, he's a decent finisher, he's got good output. We don't really have a striker. The Lukaku thing was a mess. They had no one else who could really do it. Aubameyang hasn't worked out. We'll go with Havertz. Why are they going with Havertz? I think because he probably does it a little bit better than most others, but otherwise because he's apparently quite tall and they think he might be a bit of a presence. I think he lacks presence, but what I do think he has is good technical ability. He's a decent, not great, decent finisher. Probably better than people think. You think of that Liverpool game very recently at Stamford Bridge where, I mean, it was just a nightmare in terms of his finishing. But he's got productivity. We have seen that. He's got output. And I think if Chelsea had been a little bit smarter with the way they used him, they might have got a little bit more out of him. I think just pushing him as this striker for, 69 games that he played, way more than he's played in any other position, I think it tells that Chelsea didn't really know what to do with him, and maybe Arteta does. I do have questions about his defensive work. You know, Arteta likes players that are super energetic. They can get from one end of the pitch to the other. They're committed. They're stuck in. I have my questions about Havertz in that sense compared to the way Ødegaard, Jesus, Martinelli, Saka all press and work hard. I've also got questions, like I said, about what he's here to be. Is he a shadow striker? Is he a right winger? But I think, particularly on that right wing, it might surprise us how often he plays out there as teams sit back and defend. There isn't going to be as much space to dart in behind. There's not going to be as much area to attack and penetrate if you're a Saka or Martinelli. Teams that might sit even deeper. You're going to need creators. You're going to need players that can do something a little bit out of nothing. And Havertz, I don't know if he's shown it at Chelsea, but I think he's definitely shown in his 6, 7, 8 years playing top flight football that he's really got a little bit of quality and a little bit of something he can offer in the final third. Those are my thoughts. Let me know what you made of this video. Hit the like button if you did enjoy it and get in the comments as well. Why do you think Arteta wants Kai Havertz at the Emirates Stadium? Because apparently we're willing to offer a lot of money. Not the 70, 75 minutes been said, but we're still willing to pay a significant amount to get him to the Emirates. So Arteta must really like him. Do you? And if not, why not? And if you do, why? Let me know in the comments. I'll see you very soon.
Shop for AFTV merch at shop.aftv.co.uk. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, Snapchat and Twitch. We've got content for every platform, so check it out.